My name's Jai. I'm here with Salt Spring Life, and today I have the pleasure to be in Centennial Park on this beautiful sunny day with newly elected local community commissioner Ben Corno. Really excited to have you here, Ben. I'm wondering if you can start off by telling us how this new role is feeling so far and how the first meeting went with your other commissioners.
Let's see. So far, the role I think feels comfortable. I'm a really big fan of learning about the community and getting to meet up with the people who are keeping it kind of working properly, and I find that part of the role is a cinch. Even when I ran for local trust commissioner, it was sort of an important part of myself doing the data gathering and history building of that experience. I realized, this is comfortable. This is my favorite thing. So still doing a lot of that, and doing a little bit of that is like self-driven. So needing to make sure I check in with the head of the library or the people down at the liquid waste management thing. So good. I think good. I've administratively, it's kind of strange because I'm having to get into new tools like productivity apps, and I use my Google Calendar in a way that I never did before. Without Google right now, I don't know where I'd be.
What I appreciate about you, Ben, and your learning curve with the technology will come, but I find you really approachable and easy to talk to, and I think that's a really important attribute for the community to be able to connect with you. And I'm wondering, in these first kind of connections with the other commissioners and the first meeting, are there priorities that you guys are focused on, and are you able to share what some of those might be?
For sure. I'm going to what's called pin that for a moment. I'll finish with how was the first meeting in general. The first meeting was really nice. It was really, really long. It was 5 hours long. The first 2.5 to 3 hours were taken up by an orientation and a short break. The orientation is giving you a history of what is the CRD, what is its role in our community, and then what is in the purview of the LCC, and then also some best practices on how to behave as an elected group, local government act stuff, which is kind of fun to learn about and talk about. So we got into that, and then we did some. We passed a few motions and put a few notices of motion, which is for the future, related to trying to make sure that our meetings are accessible, trying to, communicate to the community that openness is a part of what's important to us, and then also a motion to invite the ex-commissioners from the commissions that used to be in place taking care of these services, so that we could do some information gathering from them in a more formal setting. So that will be happening on the 11th of July. And that was sort of basically it, was some really big vision motion passing and discussion. And it was really nice just to get into it. I like the discussion part. I like a bit of the formality is cute and fun if you want to see it that way. So that was that meeting. How am I enjoying working with the group? I really like them. I knew I would like them from the beginning, and then as we began to work together, I've also felt like I like them. I like thought experiments, and I've done this thought experiment just to check inside, and I thought, if I did the absolute bare minimum and just attended the meetings and did nothing other than that, do I think that the community would be well served by these other commissioners? And my answer to that is absolutely. Yeah, I trust them. I think their heads are all in the right place, and the things that they are thinking about and want to do are all things that I think the community wants or will benefit from. So
that's wonderful. So there is kind of a shared perspective and shared priorities amongst the commissioners.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Within as much as I can understand that in on day 10 or something, I absolutely think so. I don't see any really big sticking points. I don't see any strange agendas or curveballs. I mean, we're also not working inside of the world yet of, big emergency related stuff or really big, if we try to begin to talk about affordable housing, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of different ways that could go. But I think at least with the things we talked about so far, I think relatively aligned, and yep.
So it's early days to talk about specific priorities, and that's totally understandable. If the community has feedback, questions, kind of ideas that they're interested in the commission looking at, what's the best kind of feedback loop for the community to get that information to you, and then also, as you sort of touched on, understand how things are progressing?
That's fun. If we were talking specifically me, because I'm definitely not going to throw the other four under this specific bus. If you see me in town, bothering me is always welcome. What it will likely do is it will create a Google Calendar moment in which I say, "Hey Google, can you make a calendar moment too?" And then I really like to have a thing to do. So, if you want to talk to me more about something, maybe we make a meeting about that. If you want to send me a file or send me a link to something, that's a thing. But yeah, probably just bother me to create a feedback loop. That's really good. I do have a CRD email, which is bcorno, so the letter B, CORNO, at crd.bc.ca. That's a good way to get a hold of me. If you already have my personal email address, you're welcome to use it. But no, I will not be putting it on this podcast just because that's a whole other kettle of fish. And then there's also this thing called a request for delegation. You can find that form on the CRD website. If you need help finding it, bother me at the work email address. That's a way that you could actually ask to attend a LCC meeting and speak to a specific issue. And if you wanted to get that issue onto the agenda, you would speak to me in advance, and I would add it to the agenda, and then you could speak to that agenda item. That's one thing. The request for delegation can only speak to items that are on the agenda, but the agenda can be populated with items that this delegation could speak to.
So community members can come to the meeting and speak to an issue if they've kind of given that advance notice. And then
I'll say, that's the formal method for doing that, but we may be finding slightly less formal workarounds, meaning a period of our meeting that is reserved specifically just to have community members have the capacity to speak, maybe not even specifically to agenda items. That would be sort of a technical workaround, and that sort of stuff is buried more in Local Government Act, CRD, procedures, bylaws stuff. But I think all of us are pretty interested in making sure that the community doesn't feel on the outside of this if they want to take part in these experiences. I think we want to make sure that ability is there.
Yeah, that's excellent. And what about the minutes from meetings? Are they posted somewhere centrally that that people can read?
Yes, yeah. So all is on the CRD website, which is actually quite large. So learning how to search the CRD website can be a bit of a trick, but the CRD website will be able to have all the minutes from the meetings posted, as well as the agendas for the meetings that exist before that. That I actually don't know how to guide someone right now to say, here's how you search for this thing. Searching Salt Spring Island LCC agenda or Salt Spring Island LCC minutes is a good place to start. I believe there's an LCC specific part of the CRD website, which soon or now will be populated with all of the specific documents that are generated through the LCC experience.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. No, I really appreciate you sharing your experience so far and how it's going. I think that's a super interesting take for the community to hear in this new governance model. And maybe we can leave it there, and I can just finish by asking you, what are some of your most fun Salt Spring Island summer activities?
Oh, wow. I have a pretty strong disc golf feeling, which is, I almost don't even want to say that because it's going to happen anyways. One of my favorites is driving up Musgrave Road to this place called Mill Farm Provincial. I think it's a provincial park. And it's a sort of old farm that used to have like a water wheel. It seems like a really cool self-sufficient farm on the top of Musgrave Road. It's like kind of after the lake, but before you start to head down the big road to the landing. That's my favorite place. It's really got great deciduous trees, which are not always the easiest to find. And it's got a pretty decent walking trail. It's really private. It's cool. Even though it's on the south side of the mountain face, it also just has a great tree cover. So that's something I would hope to do. Me and Kaylee try and do that once a year. So
very cool. I love that local recommendation.
Yep.
Ben, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for talking to me today.
No problem. You want to do a handshake? Thank you.